All right. No, it wasn't. I don't think it's my internet did an oopsie because it's been pretty good.
Actually, I'll
On
be
the,
on more.
hey,
Okay.
we're back. I
Got
don't. I don't think it was the internet. I just think the IG lives apparently can only do an hour, and I guess I was already going
Ooh.
so long before.
Did we really do an hour?
No, no, I was already on for a while before you
That's
jumped in.
right. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but in any case, what was the last thing we were talking about?
Nigeria, untapped market. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
remember.
yeah, and then China and whatnot. Yeah, they buy out your government, which was literally what British or Britain was doing in the later eras of in India when they were
Mm.
still colonizing them. That like they started
That's good shit,
they
man.
because there was more violence and shit happening, so they started pulling out the soldiers and stuff. But they were still just like, hey, we'll let your local leaders or whatever do their thing, but they're basically in their pocket. Yeah, the Belt and Road Initiative is China's thing. So it's it's the same old thing. People are using nations and officials, people with power are using whatever leverage they can to get the best deal for themselves. This is just what people do in general. So it really just comes down to getting the right people into power, um, which is something I've had to really come to reckon with is understanding that there's not going to be a spontaneous random occurrence. People are not just going to randomly have this epiphanies amongst themselves. What's going on, Amo? People are not going to have this spontaneous. Um, yeah. I didn't say there wasn't hard colonialism. I was just saying that as violence increased during the later years, they started pulling out the soldiers and shit because regular civilians, white Europeans, and soldiers were getting fucked up in every way imaginable. So they were just like, okay, we're losing our grasp, but we're gonna take out we're gonna start taking out the soldiers and doing the hard, saying colonial type shit and do more of the soft colonial type shit. So it was. I'm
Mm.
not saying they didn't have it. They just started
What's up, Great
incorporating
God?
using that later on.
Yeah.
Going on,
Sorry to
Break
interrupt.
God.
It's the homie. Great God.
No, you good. You good. Holla at them. I appreciate them dropping in. Um,
Hell yeah.
but in any
Dude,
case,
so
oh yeah, go
did
ahead.
you
Go
go to
ahead.
school for this stuff? Like, I forget. Where do you get your knowledge exactly?
Uh, I mean, from all over. So, like I said, part of it comes from what's going on Dunkin' Nomads. So, part of it literally comes from the music I listen to, including hip hop. Um, Obviously, school and whatnot. I've gone to a bunch of different schools out in the general LA area. Um,
Hmm.
and, and then also, I think it was just like as a kid, I spent a lot of time alone and I spent a lot of time around more adults and older people than I did around my peers. So,
Hmm.
naturally, I wouldn't say naturally, but just like and also the adults that I was around were, they were more so squares, but they were hardworking people, people who worked in education or people who worked in, um, social services and stuff like that. So, so some of this stuff was just kind of like in the air and was just part of the natural like conversations and stuff that I would just hear, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so that's just what it was. And then obviously, as I get older and I go to college and I start having my own adult experiences and just growing up and shit, then it just continues to level up, you know. So,
Yeah.
so it's always just kind of been there. It's just that you just kind of hit a threshold of experience and knowledge and discipline and practice to where it becomes like what it is now,
For sure.
you know. It's kind of like as an artist or whatever, you just put in years and years and years of practice, kind of fumbling around. So then finally, when you go perform or you record and everything, shit just comes together, and people think it's magic because they don't know, they don't see all the years of development and programming that went into it.
Exactly.
You know,
Hold on, I gotta get that other. Throw some more on there.
hmm you know. But
We're
that's
just at the gas station.
oh, you good? I can tell, I can see. but
Hey,
but
shout out AMPM.
but that's all it is, and just kind of an underlying curiosity I have about the world and how people are, and and whatnot. And
For sure, man.
oh, somebody's phone died. But that's so that's it. But the thing I was getting on is one of the things, I guess probably one of the most crucial lessons that I've had to learn and this has been more so of like a adult thing, has been, so as far as like politics and stuff, if you had to ask me like, oh, what do I identify as, like what flag do I wave? The closest thing I would think is like a libertarian socialist, so like a left leaning libertarian, and
Hmm.
and one of the reasons why I feel that way, and I'm not like a just like, oh, a Marxist or even a communist, is because there's a few fundamental things about it that I don't agree with, or I don't think are going to happen. The main thing being the spontaneous awakening or radicalization of the working class, the proletariat.
Okay.
And I don't say that because I think, oh, the working class people are too lazy or stupid. I just think they're too busy, and they are they've been purposefully miseducated, undereducated, misinformed, um, fucked around in the system and everything, to where there's a lot of valid reasons for them to not even want to engage in the conversation of knowing more stuff.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's just one of those
I don't know, man.
it's one of those things like with the coronavirus, right? So it's it's
Oh,
it's it's
bro.
it's known to really impact the black and brown communities a lot, right? The black and the Latin
Good.
communities, right?
You got my card?
Did you get any more? I got it, bro.
It's on the counter.
Looks like a lot is going on from the way the camera's moving.
Sorry, bro.
No, you're
But yeah,
good.
no.
It's funny to me.
Oh man, that reminds me. I gotta tell you some shit about some girl who was like talking about like masks. I'm wearing one right now.
Hmm.
And she was basically saying that like they weren't necessary and all kind of stuff. I should tell Braid God. I should answer Braid God's question. I am at the Arco on Broadway and Griffin in Lincoln Heights. But yeah, I mean, not to throw her under the bus or anything, I won't say her name, but it was just funny because she lives in like a rural area, so it's like it's not really going to be an issue for you. So
Yeah.
like, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, do what you want to do. Like, I live in one of the most populous cities in the world, so like, I don't really have the luxury of having an opinion on it, and I'm gonna do what I can to help people or help other people, help my family stay safe, and
Yeah.
etc. So, but
Well,
yeah, you were saying it disproportionately affects black and brown people.
yeah, and one of the reasons for that is the well-earned skepticism towards authorities,
Oh,
especially towards certain authorities. Um,
Can I throw a monkey wrench in your theory here?
oh yeah, go ahead.
Because it's not going to disprove what you're saying necessarily, but maybe just add on to it. The other thing that I don't we might have talked about this, but
Hmm.
I don't remember. I know I was talking to somebody about it. Basically, what I heard, and they were talking about this on the Joe Rogan podcast of all places.
Hmm.
Basically, because the black and brown people come from closer to the equator, and we obviously developed darker skin because of our proximity to, or our overexposure to the sun.
Yeah, UV lights.
Well,
Yeah.
because the sun is the provider of vitamin D, we were getting excess vitamin D. So our bodies say, okay, I don't need to produce as much naturally. And what is one of the best, fighters of COVID? It's vitamin D. So if you're white, if your body naturally has to produce it because you came from an area where you had no sun, then you're going to be able to fight off the virus more easily naturally, as opposed to if and also this plays into drug addiction affecting black and brown communities, because we need that dopamine or that serotonin more to level out, hypothetically or whatever. I'm obviously not a fucking scientist or
Yeah,
anything,
yeah, yeah,
but it's just the basic ideology of it or whatever.
yeah. No, that's interesting. I mean, that sounds like complete. That sounds like complete nonsense. The
Oh,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
does.
yeah. Because the thing is that like immune systems are, well. Here's the thing I'll say is that the only studies that I've seen related to the like that correlation between like immune systems and being closer to the equator
Yeah.
had another variable in it that I think is a lot more critical, and it was diet. And that people who tend to
Oh,
live
right.
closer to the equator tend to they also eat foods that are closer to the equator, and they have to survive in these more intense climates, right? And
Yeah.
you are what you eat. So if you are you are what you eat, and so quite literally, you're eating foods that have higher, concentrations or stronger concentrations of certain minerals and vitamins and whatnot, and you consume them. And so that's why even in places where there may be a lack of traditional medicine or formal medicine, people don't get sick as often, and they still have pretty decent teeth and whatnot. And then there's also another factor, which is that people who live closer to the equator also tend to eat spicier foods, and spicier foods have been shown to have a positive effect on boosting the immune systems of those who consume it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I
it's
like
so
that.
it's so it's less about like so my understanding, the way I look at it is that it's not as simple. It's not like, oh, just this exposure to the skin rays and shit has this long meaningful impact on the immune system, but that because you're having to endure harsher climates and whatnot, the food that you eat is literally um, like the best some of the next best thing to formal medicine that you can get.
Oh shit.
Yeah, this is a weird intersection at this hour. Yeah, that's interesting. But I mean, doesn't it also make sense though that vitamin D production, natural vitamin D production, would play a factor in your ability to overcome the virus?
But it,
Uh,
it
Go ahead.
that's easy to be because the thing is like vitamin D is only the sun, right?
Yeah.
It's just the sun. Like there's no other
Turn right.
added.
Oh,
It's
next one.
all right.
Sorry.
It's the sun. So like when they say the virus don't go out, everything that they're saying not do
Mm-hmm.
is what needs to be done. You know what I mean?
In
And
terms of go outside.
this is where you said again.
In terms of going outside.
And going outside. No, the whole array of it, like how they
Turn right.
Okay. Now the thing is with social distancing. Social distancing, what this does is it doesn't. You can't go to parties. It eliminates the gathering under the sun. You know what I mean? Which serotonin is created. Serotonin is created usually when people sweat. You know what I mean? And if you can allow people not to sweat and keep all those things bottled up inside of them, then that's a death right there, automatically. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. Well, the thing is that like, in places where here's the thing with that, um, is that there's been this, at the beginning, people were doing the social distancing stuff and numbers were actually going down. So there were less people in the hospitals, there was less people dying and whatnot. The reason why people started dying
Can we
again.
really go off the numbers though?
Wait, say that again.
Would we be able to truly believe in the numbers and say that those numbers were real?
Well, yeah, because here's the thing: is that like it's not just one authority saying, okay, here's the numbers. They have to gather them up from all these different local places. There's hundreds of hospitals and stuff, and hospices and caretaking facilities that report on this stuff. There's not like a single authority that comes together and says, oh, you're going to fix your numbers. That's impossible. That's impossible to handle. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that is true. Now, would it be possible that someone can lie about it?
Well, actually, that's interesting because the next point I was going to bring up is that while there is no single authority on this shit, obviously the most high-profiled one is the Center for Disease Control, which is a federal organization. And Dr. Fauci, the head of the CDC, has been like the main figurehead and had to correct a lot of Donald Trump statements as well as other real researchers and scientists. Well, what happened about a month and a half, 2 months ago? Trump basically sidelined Fauci from doing any type of public media interviews, as well as any other researchers that didn't agree with him. And he's also been putting out fake doctors and researchers who aren't even professionals in the virology and pathological disease and stuff. And making false claims saying that stuff like, oh, hydrochloroquine or whatever, that stuff that's used for malaria treatment can cure you. And people have been taking it and dying or not seeing the results that they thought they should. So it's
Wow.
like, but the numbers thing is that what happened is that it looked like the numbers have been going down, but that's because they changed the criteria recently for what they're even counting. So the thing is that
which was needed, and it could be that could be the reason why the numbers were so high before, because it was unstable. Like they couldn't even figure out what was the coronavirus. You know what I mean? And then
that's
now,
the thing. That's the thing. It's novel. We never had anything like this before. It's happened. We haven't had something like this that was this devastating since like the Spanish flu, and that was almost a century ago. None of us were around. But in places like China and in other Asian countries, they've had, this isn't the first COVID. You know what I'm saying? This is just a novel iteration of it, but this is the first time we've had COVID. And so,
I mean, at the same time, more people die from H1N1 than COVID. So we have experienced it, but we haven't experienced to the level of shutting down the government, shutting down the whole community. Like that's new. But
right.
As far as,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but as far as the deaths, as far as and then I even remember the West Nile virus being pretty bad. You know what I mean? As far as deaths, not infections.
Well, here's the thing. You can't just the thing is that like you can't just always look at the numbers of deaths, because just because the number quote unquote may be lower, that doesn't mean that we even have the ability to handle those deaths. Because but the main priority, the main issue was overburdening of our systems and whatnot, because you get sick with this shit and it spreads so easily, and because we're still understanding the effects that it has on people. What's going on, everybody that's just joining in? There are some people who get it and have extremely really bad diarrhea. There are some people who get it and they immediately get the walking pneumonia, that where water is literally filling up your lungs. Some people get it and just have a fever for a few days and they're good to go from there. So it's like, that's where, some people have been saying that like, oh, somebody got into a car accident and they're saying that it's COVID. It's that COVID, what we're discovering, has a different effect on different people. And
so can I jump in here really quickly for 1 second? C3, you said that more people died from H1N1?
Yeah.
How many people died from it?
In verbatim, I can't tell you, but I can tell you it was way more people that actually died from H1N1.
Okay. So I actually, because I don't know if that's true or not, but I did just look up the figures for COVID literally earlier today. So, and they're updated.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you that it's 30 million infected so far, recorded
in the world, right? In the world.
And this is global.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. 20 million recovered, and 950 million have died globally. So,
yes.
Excuse me, 950. Wait, 950,000.
950 million. Okay, I was gonna be like, okay, but be mindful.
1 out of 7 people died. Yeah, no, 950,000. I'm sorry, almost 1 million people have died. Now, but globally, the average death for the flu is between 200 and 600,000. So it is more deadly than the flu. Now,
and it also depends on where it hits, because like you just said, it's almost 1 million people, 980,000 that have died. About 200,000 of those people are from the U.S. So almost a fifth of those deaths came from the U.S., even though this thing is supposed to be less deadly than the H1N1.
So that was going to be my next point, is that there's gray area. Obviously, there's always gray area, but the other gray area that the naysayer is going to bring up is, how many of those did they actually die from COVID, or did they have COVID in their system and they died from something else, that did happen, but I just think it's kind of a moot point, is my point.
But the problem is that those numbers there, say H1N1, all right, their criteria for judgment of what is that sickness, right? And then coronavirus comes, COVID comes, and then they ramp it up because of whistleblowers, and it's too many. this isn't common sense. I'm looking around the world and seeing who's affected by this and who's not affected by this, right? And the fact that the virility, did I say that the virility is way more intense in America or say Europe than it is in indigenous societies. So this is already showing me something like, okay, wait a minute, who is this affecting? And then, or is it affecting as they say it is? You know
Well,
what
yeah,
I
it is.
mean?
The reason why it's so stark in the U.S. and Europe is because, and the thing is, it is hitting a lot of indigenous communities. Whether you're looking at the ones within the United States or the Brazilian ones, which have been getting hit especially hard. You know, that's from a bunch of other systemic issues. Indigenous communities have disproportionately, as you know, like as far as
Wait, are
as
we talking? Let's just clarify though, because I
yeah,
think
yeah,
see-through is referring to actual, like, like secluded, right? Secluded, like
Secluded
tribal.
for sure. So the tribal areas, and then when you think about this, even the countries in Africa, you know what I mean. You might find like Nigeria, you know what I mean, places like that to be highly infected, and then you find the countries who are hardly infected. You know what I mean? So is
like
it
Vietnam.
one more time?
Vietnam.
Like Vietnam. Like Vietnam has been
Like
handling the
like
virus really well since the beginning, even though they're like a fraction of like these more modernized societies.
like Vietnam and like Japan. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Those are two societies who handled this amazingly well.
Right.
And and then I'm looking at the rest of the world who not only has way more people, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? You know, like it should be like in China, for example.
Hmm.
China and Japan, two different societies, right?
Hmm.
Japan is a lot smaller than China.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's easier to contain, but at the same time, I feel like it was people that was adding numbers to that. You know what I mean? You know, it was, say the alliances. Like you got you got the people that's in the United Kingdom, United Nations. You know, you got America. You got all these places, and I'm looking at these numbers where these places are controlling, and they're high. They're really high. But
Yeah,
in
but
the
that's because of
places,
the right. But I have to cut in real quick because the reason it's not simply a matter of like, oh, they're smaller and whatnot, because then like then places like Hawaii or you know these really small Caribbean nations and everything shouldn't have an issue with it. It's all about the practices, and so it's like so you know uh, um, uh, so like the numbers were going down and everything in the beginning because we were doing the social practice, you know, the social distancing. We were trying to get people to wear masks. A lot of businesses and shut down, so the virus is not transmitting, right? And then it started to turn around when there were these anti-mask protests going on, as well as the BLM protests. Now it took a little bit for people to get for enough data and studies to figure out, okay, was it both of these things? Like, what was the, you know, what was causing the rise in it? And what they discovered is that um, the Black Lives Matter protests and everything, like in response to George Floyd, those places where they had those things did not experience a high surge in the virus
that's a
infection
good
rates and whatnot.
point. That's a great point.
Whereas for like the anti-mask groups and whatnot, there was a surge. And the thing that they pointed to was that the people who were anti-maskers and whatnot, what was their main grievance? I want to go to the barbershop. I want to go to the restaurant. I want to blah, 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 blah. They go into these smaller enclosed spaces. They pack them, and then they don't want to wear masks. And these are all of the variables that you need to spread the shit. Whereas all the activists and everything, they're like, hey, we're just going out to be outside. A lot more people take science seriously, so they're wearing masks. They're outside and everything. And so while on one hand, yeah, it may be breaking the social distancing thing, whatnot, they were still keeping up the other practices and whatnot. And so that's why
Hey, that reminds me.
that's where there was a link between the
Is,
anti-mask protests spreading the disease, but not the Black Lives Matter ones.
is that part of what Joe Rogan was apologizing for? Because he was talking about like, oh, you're not going to tell me that like people going out and protesting wasn't contributing to the ups to the spike or whatever.
Mm.
But I
I
heard
don't
the
know.
same shit you were just talking about. I heard the same thing.
I
And
don't.
every protest I
Yeah,
went to, everyone was wearing masks.
yeah, exactly. That's. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, once again, I think this just kind of goes to, because I don't know if Rogan specifically said like, oh, the BLM ones or the anti-massacre ones. He might have just been looking at, oh, all these people protest, all these people that are just crazy going out having strong opinions and shit. That might have just been his reaction, but I'm not sure. But in terms of like, to go back to like, oh, Vietnam and Japan or even South Korea, it's not just the fact that they're smaller nations, it's that and people posted this stuff like all on Twitter, people who were traveling there or getting quarantined and stuff, is that the moment you got off a plane, they check your fucking temperature, they check your shit, they quarantine you, they give you a hotel room or whatever, they give you a little package deal, a little package with hand sanitizer, mask, blah 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 blah. So right, so they keep you ready to go and deal with the shit in the proper way. Whereas, yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting out of his car now.
No, you're good. Whereas, like in America and the UK, and this is a big reason why Trump's ratings and shit have fallen, is that Trump was getting briefed on the coronavirus back in January or December, and then, but what had he done before? What did he do months prior? He basically defunded the special team that studies viruses and shit that Obama used to help him tackle H1N1 and the West Nile virus, because coronavirus this shit could have been a lot worse, because those things, like he said, like C3 mentioned, were a lot more fatal. There were a lot more deaths. The reason why this one is so astronomically out of control is because Trump gutted out the bureaucracy that was supposed to study this shit, because they're anti-science. They also had reports of them. Basically, they had already had deals selling masks and selling medical supplies to everywhere else around the world, which is why nurses and shit were having to wrap their shoes and wear trash bags in order to go to work.
And then the CDC lied about the effectiveness of masks because they didn't want people going out and buying them, because there was a shortage in the front lines, and then they admitted it.
Exactly. And the thing is I don't fault Fauci too much. I mean, he is a medical professional, he is a government man, so I expect him to prioritize the medical community and
well, they shouldn't have lied, but yeah.
I mean, the thing is that like, you either lie or, I mean, you know how the American public is. So like, while maybe somebody like you or me or C3 and shit may hear him be like, hey, we don't want everybody going out buying masks, and because we really need
that's
blah,
true.
Blah, blah. While we may have that reaction,
they would have panicked.
Exactly. So the thing is, this is definitely in the way that our leaders have been mishandling this shit, and But actually, I actually just remember the point of why I even brought this shit up in the first place: the skepticism of Black and brown people with the medical community and authority.
Oh yeah.
Is that just like, whether it's looking at the Tuskegee experiment, where Black people were unknowingly infected with syphilis and spread it to their families, or whether it's the founding of the practice of gynecology on Black slaves without anesthesia, or whether it's the most recent example in ICE camps and ICE concentration camps, where immigrant women are being forcibly given hysterectomy, which a hysterectomy, for those that don't know, is the removing of a woman's uterus, which can be done in a way that's reversible, but because of the conditions and the situations we're in, that these doctors are doing it as it's eugenics. The wrong people are giving birth, and so they want to be able to curtail that. They want to stop that, and so that's what they did. They're giving these women hysterectomies because they're like, we don't want y'all breeding.
Yeah, dude.
That's basically what it means.
Well, that was another thing Joe was talking about. Maybe you can enlighten me. Maybe this was the other thing he had to apologize for or some shit. I don't fucking know.
How many fucking things did he apologize for?
Bro, I honestly didn't read the article. I just saw it and I heard about it, and you're the one. I heard from you that it was the Douglas Murray episode that they were even referring to. So I didn't even know that. Oh. I just know that I did have to turn off that episode because I was just like sick of what I was hearing. But I only listened to like 20 to 30 minutes of it, so maybe he said some other shit halfway through. But
Oof.
What was I gonna say? I just know that one of the things that he said, fuck, I'm blanking.
You good? Oh, it was about the ICE concentration camps, hysterectomy.
Oh, shit.
immigrant
Yes,
women.
yeah. Sorry, there was a firework. Dude, who's lighting off fireworks still?
Uh,
Stop lighting off fireworks! You're gonna burn the neighborhood down. I sound like an old man, but
you just worried about your community. You're growing up.
bro, like the yeah, it's dry as hell out here. So anyway,
Yeah.
yes, it had to do with ice, and it had to do with the doctor who was doing the hysterectomies.
Hmm.
Supposedly, it was somebody who had been like dealing in fraudulent shit before,
Okay.
and so the idea was that they didn't know, like, it was this something like ICE ordained it, or was it just this doctor was trying to get more money by performing more surgeries? You see what I'm saying? Like that's what Joe Rogan was saying, but I obviously don't know, and he didn't know either. He was very open and honest about, he was just speculating.
Well, the thing is that either case, it looks bad because it's like, okay,
Yeah,
obviously the doctor, no matter what his motives are, that's fucked up. But then
yeah, and how did he even have the capability to do that? So it's
yeah,
like, come on.
exactly. And the thing is, for ICE to be able to do this, whether they knowingly hired this, whoever the director is, whether they explicitly hired them for this, or whether they just like hired somebody that was a friend, or just picked up any random name out of the fucking book without doing any real vetting of them.
Yeah,
Either way, it's fucked up. It was either carelessness, recklessness, or um, outright fucking eugenics, bigotry. You know.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think I actually might have lost the first video because I didn't send it anywhere before I started the second one. Oh well.
Oh, really? See,
Lesson.
that's what I was wondering,
Yeah,
like
I
if you
think.
saved that one or not.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't save automatically. I guess you have to send it somewhere and then you can whatever. But it's whatever. I'm still figuring it out. This is only like the third or fourth time I've done it. And plus, like,
Damn, but we had such a good conversation.
yeah, it's all good though. I mean, this, there'll be there's always tomorrow. There will be more shit. There will always be more
Yeah,
bullshit to talk about. um, but no,
yeah,
but the thing is that like when you have these situations and when you know this history and you know of these incidents and everything, it's like, and say you met like an immigrant, woman or whatever, right? Just for whatever first day in America, you run into her or whatever, and you're saying she comes up to you and she's describing like some physical pain she's having, and you say you should go to the doctor,
hmm.
and her response is frightened. Her response is like, no, I can't go to the doctor, blah 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 blah. And it seems very irrational to you because you're like, you have an injury or you have a medical need and stuff. But in
Yeah,
her mind, she's thinking about, oh, will I be turned over to deportation? Will I be put in a concentration camp? Will they remove my uterus? If I have kids with me, will they separate them? Will they give me some type of disease without me knowing?
yeah,
Blah
dude.
blah blah. Because there was one woman who she did an interview and she said that like I guess she already had some type of cancer or whatever, or maybe this was a lie told to her. But the doctor who was doing the hysterectomies told her basically under the pretense that like, oh, we're gonna do this to take care of your cancer or whatever. And
Mm.
obviously that was a lie. And
Wow.
so it's just like when you add all that up, and if you're aware of all these stories and shit, then it's like you can at least understand the argument of why certain people won't be so quick to just trust medical authority, no matter what type of other information or data comes out.
Yeah, dude.
You know,
Yeah, we're fucked.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's fucked up. It's annoying. It's unfortunate, but it's just like to me, it just goes to show that nothing is ever completely set in stone. Because if things were just guaranteed, then these groups wouldn't be working so hard over time to make sure that people were uneducated, that people were in fear, that all our institutions and shit couldn't work or operate properly, or that they can
Yeah.
silence dissenting voices. If all this stuff was just a shoe in, they wouldn't be working so hard to try to stifle us. So to me, that just kind of shows that there's an opportunity for shit to be better, and that's what we need to be focused on. Not forgetting or whitewashing or escaping from the harsh realities, but remembering there's an alternative. We don't have to continue living this way, but we do have to fight for something different, because those who are maintaining the status quo and doing the shit that we see now, they're literally willing to kill us to maintain this shit.
Bruh. Yeah, like that's like the crazy part to me about like the culture war shit going on, and like how some people really can't see like which side, you know, they I mean, I understand nobody's perfect on either side and all that stuff, but like the whole demonizing of the left and all that stuff, and it's just like it just blows my mind that people are so brainwashed, like on either side, but especially on the right side, knowing that, you know, the what they call domestic terrorism and white supremacy and all that shit being the major actual threat that it is. And
Yeah.
I don't even really know where I'm going with this, but I just feel so overwhelmed with it, and it's just so fucking exhausting.
I feel you. It is. It really is. No, it really is exhausting. You know, like before, like, you know, hearing the news of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and stuff and all this stuff, like I was planning on going on like a hiatus from social media and keeping up with the news and stuff, just kind of giving myself,
Really?
you know, a break from that shit, which everybody needs. But I'm just like, God damn it, like this is what happens. You get tapped in, you start paying attention to one thing, and then you're always just kind of waiting in anticipation of the next fucking thing to happen. And so it's like, while I'm trying to get out the rest of my clips for this latest episode and get out the last little bit of content before I, you know, check out for a little bit, it's like, it's just like everything that you think that can't get any worse continues to get worse.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, once again, I'm somebody who's been aware of, I know my history, I know not just my history, but I know history, and I understand people to some degree. And I recognize the fact that everything in this world that exists, somebody had to fight for. And while, yeah, it's great that, you know, we're obviously able to enjoy some downtime, enjoy some leisure and shit, the people we're going up against, they don't take as many breaks, or they're not as, I guess, what's the way to put it? Because I don't want to make an argument like, oh, we shouldn't be taking breaks from stuff, or we shouldn't be enjoying life. But that it's more so about understanding the enemy and how hard they're working and how much time they're putting into to figuring out ways to fuck us over.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people on the left and a lot of liberals don't truly understand how hard the opposition is willing to go for their shit.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird.
You know,
I really hope that they just don't have enough time to actually push another Supreme Court justice through before the election, you know? It seems like so close to the election, it seems almost like there's got to be some, like, law about it, you know? Like,
yeah, there is. I mean, unfortunately, this isn't, and I kind of said this in the first video, is that unfortunately, you know, like they kept Merrick Garland from getting a hearing for like within like the last year and a half of Obama's second term.
Really?
You know? And it's like, yeah, Merrick Garland, who was, you know, by all means just a centrist, a central leftist. But Mitch McConnell wouldn't even give them a hearing. He said the American people deserve to have it when the next election comes. And sure, and you know, they just so happened to get a Republican in, Trump. But hours after RGB's or RBG, her death was announced, he's already saying that, yeah, we're going to try to push it through. There's no legal precedent, I think. It just comes down to how hard Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the rest of the establishment Democrats are willing to push back.
Are they able to filibuster this type of thing, or?
So, I mean, here's the thing about the filibuster is that, like, well, first of all, I don't think that they have enough Democratic senators in right now. They will probably have them in after the election, but we have to wait till after January to get them sworn in. So we can't depend on that.
Right. I
so
literally.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was literally saying that, like, I just wish they had kept her death a secret, like for the greater good.
Well, the thing is, she's a Supreme Court justice. I mean, somebody, you know, they hear court cases every day. So I mean, it's like after a couple of days of her recent work, be like, hey, what the fuck, what's going on? You know,
dude, they should have weekend at Bernie'd her.
I know, yeah, I mean, she should have retired in Obama's term, and they should have, you know, but you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know, like I said, the takeaway I had from that isn't to just dwell on how fucked we are, because this is a setback. But the thing is that, like, nothing is guaranteed in this life. You know, nothing is guaranteed. All the shit that is here now, somebody had to fight for, and I think that Americans, that Yankees, we have enjoyed a period. I think we've enjoyed a long enough period of being able to tune out and just enjoy our leisure and enjoy our distractions and enjoy our indulgences, and not really have
Yeah.
to. And that's why our rights and our quality of life has slowly been taken away from us and decreased, because we've been satiated with all this other bullshit. And you know, and then now a lot of people are starting to tune into the fact and recognize the system we live in is fucked and irredeemable, but it's also so far gone, that there's still going to be a lot of destruction ahead, you know. But once again, it's like somebody like me. It's I've known this since I was a kid, you know. Or at least I've been aware of this tangentially since I was a kid, that you have to fight for your space and shit. That nobody's going to give you this. That good things will happen to bad. Good things don't just happen to bad people, and bad things don't just happen to good people. Good people lose to bad people.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Good people lose to bad people, and bad people are far more comfortable with things like torture and fucking genocide and bigotry and everything. So when they win, they set the rules.
Fuck.
You know, so to me, so to me, really, what it is to me, this isn't. I don't get black pilled by it. I don't get cynical by it. To me, this just kind of fills me up, ooh, this just means I have to push even harder. This just means I have to become more savvy. This just means I need to upgrade the way that I move and the way that I do things, and I need to be more selective about whose company I keep, because, to me, I think there's nothing. I think the most valuable resource in this world is the human resource, is one another. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only so much the most intelligent, hardworking individual can do on their own. You need to have your values and what you do reflected or given feedback by society, by the world.
Yeah.
And the only way you do that is by actually taking up space and not waiting for somebody to give you permission, because the opposition isn't waiting for permission.
Damn, that's a bar.
Seriously. You can use that. You can, in the studio, when somebody's cooking up and they need a line or whatever, you can drop that in and just be like, yeah, I know the ghostwriter for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, give you ghostwriting credit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Which is an oxymoron.
Yeah, right, exactly. It'll be a trade secret. It'll just be, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
but that's kind of the summary of what I wanted to get across tonight. Is just like,
hey, Salas, what's good? That's my homie Dave.
No, that's what's up. Thanks to everybody who's still here, everybody that's in. I don't know if this is correct. It says there's only like 2 people here, but to those that watch it now or watch this later, thanks for dropping in. Thanks for peeping, and there'll definitely be more of this in the future. But you were gonna say something?
What was I gonna say? Oh, I don't know, man. Just like, on the one hand, like, it's like we want to be blissfully ignorant, but then it's like we can't unknow or unsee like what we know and what we see.
Yeah.
Like people like you and me, at least. But then, like, I was just talking to my fucking cousin about all this kind of shit. He's like 23 or 24, and it was just heartbreaking, like, listening. Oh, dude, they're lighting up fireworks.
I heard that. Yeah, dude, I heard some. I didn't know if it was fireworks or gunshots. If it was gunshots, it was a really small caliber. But I'd heard like some successive shots earlier tonight. I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, at least they're at the top of the hill where, like, they're high enough up that it's just above everything, and as long as they do actually shoot it straight up, then it's gonna be fine. But still, it's like, dude, like, what's going on in the world right now. Like, everyone, you can't not know. You go outside and you know.
You see the air. You see the air you're breathing in, don't you?
Yeah. So I almost want to go up there and smack a hoe. But
I know, man.
But yeah, I was just saying that I was talking to my cousin about it, and like, he's not an idiot. Like, he doesn't like Trump. He tried to serve in the Marines and stuff like that. Oh, shout out Dave, who was in the Air Force, I believe, or was it the Army? Let me know, Dave, if you're actually watching and able to comment.
He was in the military.
He was in the military, but my cousin, he tried to join the Marines, and then he like didn't make it past basic training or something. I think
Yeah.
he had asthma. So anyway, my point was simply that it just saddens me to know that even decent people who they have a good heart, they're just not fucking paying attention. And I had
Yeah.
to school this guy on like, yo, like because he bought into the whole idea that like Bernie was gonna raise taxes to like 80%. I was like, dude, what makes you think that?
Yeah.
Like that would never work. That would never pass through any like level of the government. And and then I had to school him on that. And then and then he's basically saying that like, oh, people can take care of themselves. He was kind of like preaching like the pull yourself up by your bootstrap shit. And I was
Yes.
like, dude, it doesn't work that way. Like some people are born with a disease and they need help and we should help them. And the irony is he works with like disabled people. So his whole job is to basically babysit people who are full grown, but they have like some form of autism, you know, where they can't function essentially by themselves. So he did bring that up, and that's all well and good, and I'm proud of him for that. But like, yeah, he was just saying some of the shit. Oh, we were talking about the VA because I was basically saying like how we spend trillions of dollars, like it's something like 600 billion a year on the military, and we could spend a fraction of that and end homelessness, but we just don't do it. And then he's just saying basically the homeless people should just figure out their shit, and that he knows people because he knows people that came out of homelessness. Somehow that's proof that it's possible for everybody to do the same thing. I was like, dude, well, you know, the irony here is that like a huge percentage of homeless people are veterans. So like we're like a cyclical argument in a way, because on the one hand, we're putting that money towards the military and towards salaries, but on the other hand, like basically he was like, oh well, they should just go to get veterans assistance. I was like, bro, how do you not know this? Like the VA is a disaster. Like the VA is notoriously a mess. So I don't know, man. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but
No,
but
I feel you. It's just
yeah.
you're just describing the general frustration you have with people whom you know should know better and are capable of knowing better. But here's the problem. But here's the one thing, and this is the thing with people is that there is a difference between being capable and I wanted this to come out more poetic, but there is a difference between having the ability to do something and then having the willingness to actually commit to it. It is like even though I'm obviously very passionate and very engaged and very on when it comes to talking about this stuff, that it's still very stressful for me. It still gives me a lot of anxiety. It still fills me with all the same feelings that most people get from viewing this shit, and it makes me feel exhausted. But I, for whatever reason, whether it's just from, my upbringing and really just being cemented, or really just kind of me figuring out what I really care about in this life, or just understanding what the stakes are, I take a little break from it and I come right back to it because I can't help it. Because whether it's just posting about it or doing a podcast or conversations that I have with people and everywhere in my life, this is what I do. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I pay attention to shit. I talk about shit, and I analyze stuff. That's just what I do. And
for those who do know, or who are in the light, I should say, like it's therapeutic, or it can be, even though it's also like daunting and shit. Like it is therapeutic to kind of talk it out, think about it, and then maybe the solutions will come that way.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes the only thing you can do is just kind of clear your head. Because otherwise you get overloaded and then you're not useful at all. So sometimes you just need that little bit of, that's why I was saying I didn't want to come off as being like, oh, we shouldn't turn ourselves away completely from escapism or from indulgences and luxuries and stuff. But I think we do need to acknowledge, and this is something in myself as well, that we need to acknowledge, okay, could I be doing more? And just giving up a few indulgences and just giving up a few more of this leisure and a little more of this downtime and actually trying to be productive. And like my podcast is one form of that because.
Oh shit, is that an earthquake? All right, man. Let's get off for now, yeah?
Yeah. All right, brother. Talk to you later.
God bless.
Yeah. Take it easy. Whew.